Welcome to Mary's Eclectic Interests. I'm Barry Zivan, your host for this program, and I'm very happy to say that the guest is Sarah Whiting, who is with Minnesota Women's Press. And great to welcome you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you. What's your role with Minnesota Women's Press?
I'm the new managing editor there, which kind of combines several different things. I make sure that all the pieces come together. I'm also doing a lot of the design of the publication, and then with my background in photography, I do most of the photography for the issues.
So you have a photographic background.
Yes.
Terrific. And a photographic memory, maybe.
Yeah, not so much a photographic memory.
Okay. Could you tell us, tell the audience about when the Minnesota Women's Press was founded and who the original founder was?
Well, there were two founders, Molly Hoban and Glenda Martin. They started the publication 34 years ago. The anniversary is this month in April. And they had a vision of a platform for women's stories and women's voices. And now it is the longest continuously run feminist print publication in the country.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's terrific. Women are certainly even more in the news these days than they have been, and justifiably so for what's been going on. So congratulations. What changes are there going to be now at Minnesota Women's Press now that there's a new team there?
Well, we want to expand our reach. We have, and part of that is kind of making sure that we are reaching people where they are. So we're expanding social media. We have the print publication, we're going into more areas. And we are also working on ensuring that we're representing a lot of communities and reaching out to those communities to ensure that we have a good broad spectrum of voices in the pages. We've modernized the look and more photography because of me. I like more photography.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Minnesota Women's Press is free. How do you survive?
Well, we have, it's all the advertisers. We have wonderful advertisers. Some of them have been with us for, decades. And then also our new advertisers as well. And so, they're the ones that are getting the publication into people's hands.
Yeah. Tell us something about this upcoming event, April 25th. What's that about?
That event is, we're very excited about it. We're working with Chow Girls, who will be doing the catering and who will also be our host site. We'll have a lot of really great speakers, including Shannon Gibney, Kao Kalia Yang, Amake Kubat, Judith Guest, Asma Mohammed, and it will be facilitated by Devana Pittman. So it's a broad spectrum of women who are really doing great things. They're great writers and have a lot to say about women's issues today.
I had the pleasure to, I think I even had lunch with her once, Judith Guest.
Yes.
What a fantastic lady.
Oh, she is. She is. I photographed her for the pages in January, and she was getting ready to do her annual trip to Michigan. She drives to Michigan every year in her big truck, and so we photographed her with the truck. And she wrote a really interesting article about titled "Don't Age Me Out of Living," and it was this concept of, I still have things to offer regardless of my age, and don't just dismiss who I am because I happen to be older now.
Mm-hmm. I can identify with the older situation. Yeah, you're managing editor, when you achieve a certain level of responsibility, you must have had some women inspire you in the past? Who have been some of your heroes, heroines, I
Right.
should say?
Yeah, I've been lucky. There's a lot of great women that have taught me various lessons. My mother is a very spontaneous person who lives in the moment and really taught me to go after what I wanted. And my sister as well. She's just incredibly giving and nurturing. I worked with Joyce Tennyson, who's a photographer in New York, who taught me that I deserved as much pay as men. And then actually the two publishers that were kind of running the publication before me, Norma Smith Olson and Kathy Magnuson, they taught me a lot about leadership with compassion. And it's something that I want to continue to emulate. And along with the owner, Mickey Morissette, and the business development director, Shelley Dam, that's something that we strive for, compassionate, collaborative leadership.
Yeah, in that regard, how do you decide on monthly themes?
Well, the themes, each theme is actually kind of leading toward a sort of year-long concept. So this particular year, a lot of it, well, we've been really interested in what's been going on in politics and how do we position women into the political spectrum and ensure that women have a voice in that realm. And so each theme kind of builds on this concept of female leadership and what that looks like and how we can move forward and offer what we have to offer in a leadership capacity.
I'm one of those males who have always felt that women really rule. And
Well,
it's
thank
not in a browbeating manner, but there's an old saying, and I wish I could remember who coined it, that the hand who rocks the cradle will rule the world. And have you heard that expression before?
I have.
Yeah, I can't remember who said it. It's a very old expression. I'm a very old person, but anyway, it's really true. And I think what's happened. I mean, first of all, the Women's March right after President Trump was elected. I mean, the next day after the inauguration, there were over 1 million women in Washington, D.C., and it almost signaled to me, and I'm not being solicitous here, but it signaled to me that this was the beginning of something that really was going to last, and started a movement that men better pay attention. Well, everybody better pay attention. And then in the most recent news, with the fact, and I hope the number is right, that there are at least 50 women running for congressional seats for the upcoming election here in 2018. I think maybe there are more.
Right.
Are there more?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I don't know the exact number. I know that it's been definitely a moving dial, and I think that women are ready to say, okay, well, I need to be the change that I'd like to see, and so how can I support that goal? And if that means jumping into the political arena, then that's what will happen. So, I mean, but we still have so many things that have been in the works for so long. The ERA, for example, is still not passed, and it seems that a lot of the forward-looking messages that started in the 70s in some ways need to be readdressed and reexamined, but then kind of furthered into a spectrum that includes a bigger female voice, and how can we ensure that we're moving that in a positive direction.
Yeah, Betty Folliard is a good friend, and she was a guest on my my show, and she, I think, is either the chair or one of the top people with the ERA movement here in Minnesota, and she said it was inconceivable that all of a sudden, this it has been going on, not all of a sudden, but it's been going on for so many years, since the 70s, to get this thing passed. And what do you think is the hang-up?
I think that people in political leadership just don't find it important enough. They put it on the back burner. There's not enough people that are saying, this is basic. We are equal, and
Well, yeah.
that needs to be reflected within the structure of our political society.
Well, if the majority in Congress, with the elections coming up, all of a sudden turns out to be female, I think that thing will be passed pretty fast, don't you? Or do you?
Well, I hope so. I mean, we're getting really close to the deadline for ratification. So if we miss that deadline, then there's another slew of problems, which there's very few amendments that have a deadline like that. It just so happens that this is one of them.
Wow. Any other issues that women are facing that haven't been resolved?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're still looking at a pay gap. We need to work on, in the April issue, we talk about kind of economic equality and allowing for our own kind of economic power. We need to ensure that we have control over our bodies. We need to ensure that we have autonomy over the way that we'd like to live. So, pretty much all of the things that have been going on forever are still continuing. But it's time to move it forward. It's time to say, no, this has to change. We're not okay with the current climate, and it has to change.
Any thoughts of Minnesota Women's Press becoming, of course, these days everything's either national or international, thanks to to the internet, etc. Any thoughts of becoming a national publication rather than just based here in Minnesota?
Right. Well, there's always some thoughts of that. We've never run out of Minnesotan stories. There's so many women who are doing such amazing work here. Anika Bowie, who is on our cover, is trying to change the way that that our judicial system works in terms of, what can we do to ensure that we're working with people in a positive way and ensuring that they don't get caught up into our, a system that is just simply going to be jailing for jailing's sake.
So what are some of the more interesting stories you've published since you've come aboard?
I
mean, a publication that's been around for 34 years, there must be
right.
many.
There are. Under the new leadership, some of the stories that I've been really interested in, Nashina Hussain wrote about engaging in conflict. She's Muslim, and had some really wonderful things to say about that topic. LaDonna Redmond wrote an article about white supremacy and what that looks like and today. And we also, I got to sit down with Winona LaDuke for several hours, which was a really, a really amazing conversation about her new hemp and heritage farm, but also about what's going on with her community today, and what's going on, the continuing battle with oil. So it's been a broad spectrum of voices, and a really nice opportunity to be able to share their stories.
Mm-hmm. With the Winona LaDuke, I only had the opportunity to meet her once because I had done a documentary for the American Indians. Actually, I've done two for the American Indians. But on the oil, this being a whole new problem for them, what did she have to say on that?
Well, there's been some pretty major battles won, and not little to do with the work that she's done. But there are some pipelines that within the past year that they were trying to go through. They were actually trying to put in more pipeline than there is actually oil at one point. But due to various things, some of those projects have actually been halted, and they're looking to say, okay, well, we have enough pipeline through Minnesota now, and we need to make sure that we're protecting our environment, that we're protecting our water. We need to make sure that we are respectful of the earth, and we're looking forward. You know, it's about these future generations. It's about not just now, but 100 years from now. What are we going to look like, and have we properly stewarded our resources and our world to ensure that that's going to be a positive thing?
Well, she's a tremendous fighter for American Indian causes, and congratulations for cornering her to talk about it. How about female politicians? Have you interviewed, say, Amy Klobuchar or Tina Smith or anybody like that?
Right. Well, Amy was, she wrote an article back in the fall under Norma and Kathy's leadership. And I did actually photograph her with her daughter. I've photographed for the Women's Press for about 15 years, even before getting into my larger role there. And so I got to meet her at that point, and I really appreciate the work that she does for women.
Yeah, she's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had the pleasure to know her dad very well, and I know Amy as well, and she's a tremendous fighter, and she's made quite a name for herself. As a matter of fact, she was an intern for Walter Mondale, who also was a guest on my other program, and I asked him, I said, are you surprised that Amy has become such a powerful force in Congress? And he said, he didn't say he was surprised, he said he was actually proud of the fact that she had moved up the ladder so fast. And it's because in my opinion, Amy's very honest. She's former federal prosecutor, as you know, and she she knows her stuff, and she doesn't make things up. So, and this is said in a non-political way. I mean, this is just as a human being. She is an actual proponent of, hey, tell the truth. Let's do this.
Right.
So.
Right, and we definitely need more women like her.
Yeah.
You know, up there and ensuring that the right policies get passed.
Yeah. I got to also interview a long time ago Heidi Heitkamp, the senator from North Dakota. This was about 3 or 4 years ago for another documentary about American Indian issues, and she and Amy are pals. And I can see why, because Heidi is pretty tough too. She's the real deal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the real deal. So I'm sorry to go off far afield here, but right. How about some other interviewees, other stories?
Well, we had Jessica Wicks, right? She wrote about transgender issues. Jamie Schumacher, who did a lovely piece in our March issue about the fact that she is many things that it's difficult to kind of categorize and box and what that means. Shannon and Kalia wrote an article about losing their children due to miscarriage and what that experience was like. And so it's a nice mix of stories that we get to tell.
So it's published monthly, is that correct?
It is, yes.
Okay. And where is it distributed?
We have a lot of different locations, which on the website you can just go in and put in your zip code and see where they're at near you. But we do a lot of libraries and co-ops, places that people can easily pick them up and enjoy.
Mm-hmm. What else? I mean, a lot of people who are not in the journalism business don't realize it's a 24-hour day, 7-day a week business.
Yeah.
And is there ever a point where you say, whoa, I have to rest a little bit, or do you not want to rest?
Right. Well, you know, it's interesting because we can always do better. We can always improve. We can always ensure that there's the opportunity for Native voices and the opportunity for Black Americans and the opportunity for all of these women to be able to tell their story, and we want to ensure that we are doing that in a respectful, intelligent way that offers our very activist readers an opportunity for action and also an opportunity to hear perspectives that they might not hear otherwise. So yes, it's a constant battle between deadlines and perfection, and ensuring that we produce a quality product that we can be proud of.
Yeah, and not being solicitous again, in my opinion, everything you do should be on a national scale. Have any people approached you yet saying, hey, this should be a national magazine?
Well, the hope is that with the increase in our social media, with the increase in the quality of the website, with how we're doing our digital expansion, that will help to reach a broader audience, and then you know, we'll see what happens from there. Who knows?
Well, okay. What anything else you feel our audience should know?
Well, we're really excited about the April event that we talked a little bit about earlier, and we're really interested in ensuring the opportunity to increase conversations between women, because we have a tendency to work in a very collaborative style. Mm-hmm. And so how can we continue that concept of collaboration and conversation and storytelling?
Do you know if you have any ongoing male readers, and if so, any feedback from them?
We have had male readers that are pretty consistent, and they have given feedback to us. They, you know, I hope that we're offering them the opportunity to learn and grow as well, and to again kind of hear a different perspective than maybe something that they know. We all have our own separate community that we engage in the most, and to be able to say, okay, well, here's another viewpoint, here's another set of eyes that you can look through and think about and consider and hold as you move through your life. You know, ideally that would be helpful for everyone.
I know you're from Michigan originally, but do you feel that your message and the messages you put in Minnesota Women's Press are universal?
I do. I think there's a lot to learn from an individual's story. There's a lot of yourself that you can see there, and there's a lot of opportunity to learn and grow from a story that doesn't belong to you. And the biggest piece is connection. You know, how can we increase that sense of connection and community? How can we move through space, holding each other up and supporting one another as opposed to tearing each other down. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do is offer this support and offer this opportunity to engage.
Have women from other states who are in the journalism business come to you and said, hey, we'd like to, you're a great role model for us? Have they done that?
Well, we've only been in charge for 3 months. I'm sure they did that with Norma and Kathy. we're still so new, but we have been hearing from our readers, many who are really excited about what they're seeing in the pages, and I hope that we can honor the best of what we have to offer, and keep growing and learning. And because we're new, there's mistakes that we make, but keep learning from those and continuing to support the feminist community in Minnesota.
Well, I hope you grow even more.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Sarah Whiting, the managing editor of Minnesota Women's Press, and don't forget the big event, April 25th. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. Thank you for watching. I'm Barry Zivan, and again, thanks again to Sarah Whiting, and thank you. Bye-bye.
Sharing your passion starts with taking that first step. Take Will, for example. His first step was taking free TV classes at CCX Create. He's learning production skills and now has access to cutting-edge equipment. He's working on local music productions, meeting new people, and gaining the experience needed to produce his own show. Best of all, he's sharing his passion for music with others in the community. Share your passion. Visit ccxmedia.org.